Hello everybody, it's Stephen here for the Idiot Quilter, and welcome to my weekly episode. It is episode number 241, and it is November the 14th, 2023, and I hope you had a good weekend, and I hope whatever comes your way this week is great. So, let's jump right into my projects. I'm working at two things at the same time right now, which is not unusual for me. Let me just get this blown up. And that's not what I want to show you. Here we go. Okay, now I've got my settings right. So, two projects here. The top row of blocks, or two rows actually, plus one, is the Bundles of Joy quilt, which was the second choice that you picked for me in the 4S Collaborative, 4S Club Collaborative Challenge. The first one, the kitties, the top is done. It's sitting waiting for me to get it on Lucy and get it all quilted. Haven't done that yet. I'm not really in a great rush for that because the reveal of it won't be until into January, when all four of us, Stephanie, Sean, Shannon, and myself, will show you all the finished products from the ones that you picked for us. But hopefully by then I will have this one done as well and all quilted and ready to show then too. So you get a 2-for the price of one. And now what you're looking at right now are the bits and pieces for the Santa wall hanging, which I was a squirrel, or had a squirrel moment, because Designs by Juju, this is where this file comes from, had a sale. And this one was on for half price. Regularly $20 American, $10 on half price American. Of course, that means in Canadian about $3 billion, but it was just too stinking cute and I had to have it. Well, I kind of neglected the Bundles of Joy quilt to do this project, and here it is finished. And I really like the way it turned out. It's cute. It is a wall hanging, as I said. I don't know. I will hang it up at Christmas time. It'll be, this is not a gift for anybody. This is going to be part of my Christmas decor. But yeah, I think it turned out well. If you have a machine, an embroidery machine, and you've never done in the hoop applique projects, you really have to. They are my favorite thing to do. And they're so easy. They just make applique so very easy. And it may be a little intimidating when you first sew these together, and I think I did a video about that some time ago. So if you look in my back catalog of Idiot Quilter, I have rented lips this morning, more coffee. If you look in the back catalog for my YouTube channel, The Idiot Quilter, you'll probably find something showing you how you put these together. It's very easy, very easy. Once you've done one, all the rest, any design you do that's in the hoop, it has to be put together in pieces, is easily done. Now, I'm going to let you in on a little secret, okay? Just between you and me and the rest of the world. After you get the pieces together, you need, of course, to put your backing on, and I like to add a layer of battleizer. Battleizer, this came up, I believe, on, was it on live this week? Anyways, where I explained what battleizer was. Battleizer is a form of batting. It's actually designed by the Hoop Sisters. And in fact, I haven't seen any other brands of battleizer except Hoop Sisters, but it's very easy to get your hands on. You can order it from them. You can order it on Amazon, both .com and .ca, and where I like to get it is from monfil.ca, which is a Canadian company in Quebec. They have the best price on it, I think, and I buy it by the 15-yard rolls, which cost me about $100 Canadian dollars. But you can get it in smaller amounts as well. But what battleizer is a very low loft, dense batting. And it is great for things like table runners, placemats, and wall hangings, things that you want to lay flat. It is washable, so if you put it in something like a table runner and you need to wash the table runner, that's not a problem. And you basically treat it the same way as you treat batting. So I do have a layer of that sandwiched in between my backing fabric and the top. and it just gives it a little bit more stability. There isn't really any quilting on this, but what they do have quilting lines. It's kind of difficult maybe in the picture to see, but there's some little swirls in that, and the machine embroidery file did that. But of course, I didn't have it sandwiched, so it didn't go through to the back. So the back is kind of plain. I used a fairly busy fabric, and you can see what that is in the binding because I used the same backing fabric as in the binding. But getting to my little secret, okay, the way you attach the layers is do some stitch in the ditch in where the joins are. And lately, when I do this kind of thing, I've been using Invisifil thread. The lightest color I can get my hands on, and it's a very fine thread. It's 80 or even possibly 100 weight thread. I put that in both the top and the bottom, put it in as my top thread and in my bobbin thread. And if I make a little oopsie, and when you're doing stitch in the ditch, it's more like stitch about the ditch, it doesn't really show up. Well, usually. On this piece, though, because I moved from dark blues into browns, into blacks, into reds, into whites, I didn't switch out my thread when I was doing this. I mean, that would just be ludicrous. I'd be here until tomorrow. I'd be here until next Christmas trying to finish this. So I kept as close as I possibly could to the ditch. And I did a pretty good job, if I do say so myself. However, when I got it finished, there were a couple of spots where you could see the Invisifil. Not a lot, mainly on the darker colors, like on the black or on the red. So I got out my fabric markers, and I just gave a little touch-up. So you cannot see those spots right now. And the fabric marker blends right in. I have a big collection of them, found the right shades, and you'd never know that I had put stitches there. Works really well. Fabric markers are a great thing to have for little minor touch-ups, just to your finished piece. Plus they are washable. Like, they won't wash out. They're permanent. So if it's on a piece that you're going to wash, like a quilt, you should be okay. On something like a wall hanging, this is not something that it'll ever see the inside of a washing machine, so I'm not concerned about it. But I just didn't want those stitches, even though it was only a few and it didn't really detract from the overall piece. I knew they were there, and now they've disappeared. And that's my little secret right there for that. So yeah, think about fabric markers when you have a little boo-boo that you want to cover up. Rather than ripping it out and having to resew it again, give fabric markers a bit of a try. Okay, so that's what I've been up to. And let's see, what's happening, what's coming up, what's next. Sewing with Stephanie and Stephen this Wednesday, which would be November 15th at the time of this recording. You know the drill. Link is in the show notes for it. It's a Zoom. All are welcome. If you've never been to a Sew with Stephanie and Stephen, they always happen on Wednesdays. They usually run from 9 o'clock Eastern Time and finish up around 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Bring your own project, work away, come and go as you please. We have a good time. Very supportive environment. So all are welcome to join us. And speaking of being welcomed, yes, we are having a pop-up sew day this Saturday, November the 18th. Link is also in the show notes, and I've sent out the email to those of you on my mailing list. And that will start at 8 a.m. Eastern Time and run until approximately 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Now, no, I'm sorry, fan club, Walter will not be there. Walter's going to his own in-person sew day with his sewing class group over at the club. I could go to those too, and I have a couple of times, but I'll be really honest, not my cup of tea. They're nice people and everything like that. The environment's okay. I just don't like lugging all my stuff. And plus, I'd rather be with you, my peeps. Yeah. You are everything to me. I am now going to throw up a little in my cup. Excuse me. Okay, well, I'll have a drink anyways. Ooh, for those of you with an active imagination, that was probably a gross image. Okay, So, back on topic. Yeah, pop-up sew day. Now, here's something interesting about Saturday. I always do my pop-up sew days on a Saturday because when I originally conceived of this idea, it was to give something to those people who, unfortunately, have to work. You know, they like to eat and have shelter, I guess, so they need money. I mean, many of us are retired, but there are others out there that are not so lucky to be retired and live this in the lap of luxury as we do. Again, throwing up in my cup. So I decided, well, so they would have an opportunity. And I had people reach out to me and say, yeah, really, I'd love to be at one of your pop-up sew days, but, you know, I can't make it if it's during the week. So I put them on Saturdays. So when I do a pop-up sew day, they're always on a Saturday. Now, there's a lot of things that go on Saturday, and if you are someone who, you know, checks out the YouTubes on a regular basis, you know that, for example, my friend Sean from The Guy Who Sews, he does every Saturday morning at 8 a.m. for about 90 minutes. He does his little live sew along with, he usually has a guest with him as well, sewing with him. And if I'm not doing a pop-up sew day, I'm over there watching that. And now my friend Russ from Quilt Meets World has started doing 11s, as he calls it. And that's where he comes on at 11 a.m. on Saturday mornings and for about an hour or so works on a project in a live chat situation. And, you know, both of these people, both of these creators do a wonderful job and their lives are great and lots of fun. So I apologize now for interrupting your flow with my flow. So, yes, you have some hard decisions to make, okay? If you are a regular to my channel and love the pop-up sew days, and if you love going and watching Sean's, and if you love going and watching Russ's, there is a conflict of interest on here. In fact, Russ and I have discussed this and tried to come up with ways around it. Basically, there isn't much of a way to come about it. But here's the story, okay? First of all, I was first. I'm sorry, but I was, okay? Out of the three of us, I was here first. However, having said that, I do not have a problem if you want to split your interests that day. If you want to watch Sean and then come and join into the pop-up sew day after Sean is done, that is perfectly all right. If you want to come to mine at 8 a.m. or whenever, and then you want to slip out to go see Russ's, that is perfectly all right. We are not in competition with each other. We are exactly the opposite of that. We are very supportive of each other's channels. So I have absolutely no problem with you picking, choosing, for whatever reason. You know, my time on here with the pop-up sew day is a little bit more flexible than Sean or Russ's is. There's just a little bit more set time length. So, yeah, I won't be insulted. I'll be hurt a little bit and possibly tear up, but I won't. No, it is absolutely okay. I don't know. I wonder if there's one day that maybe Russ and Sean and we could all do a pop-up sew day together on a Zoom. That's an idea. I might have to bounce this idea off of the guys. In fact, I could get Stephanie and maybe Shannon involved too. Ooh, free for all. I don't know. I just thought about this. Stay tuned. Maybe I can come up with something. Okay, so yeah. So if you missed it, there are 2 links in the show notes. One for Sewing with Stephanie and Stephen and one for Pop-Up Sew Day. Make sure you click on the right one at the right time. I do have some people who think they're getting into Sewing with Stephanie and Stephen and they hit the Pop-Up Sew Day one. It is a little confusing, but not if you read. Okay? First line in each one of those links tells you what the link is for. Okay? All right. So, what else been happening? Okay, we went to a 60th birthday party for our friend Gail. Gail is a member of Walter's sewing class, and Gail is a brilliant seamstress. She makes a lot of her own clothes and beautifully. Well, she turned 60, and she decided to have a big bash at this, and it was. And we talked all about it on Stephen and Walter Live. So I'm not going to go into more details about that. And if you're interested in what kind of party it was a theme party. It was a 1960s style cocktail party. And we got to premiere the new shirts that Walter made specially for the occasion. And people came up and, wanted to know who my shirt maker was. Keep pointing out Walter. Then inevitably they say, do you have a store? Nope. And I usually say, and you can't afford him. But besides, he's exclusive to me. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Okay, so anyways, I did want to show you. Now, I showed this on my vlog yesterday, but it's worth seeing again because Walter created this. This is one of my thimble buckets. You've seen those before. And Walter filled it with 60 suckers and, of course, 60 sucks. Get it? Hilarious. Anyways, that's not the only thing we gave her. We also gave her, Walter made her one of his customized, beautiful tote bags with the embroidered front and back and the whole bit. And I had made her the table runner, red and black Dresden plate style in the hoop embroidery machine table runner, which took me a while, but I think came out beautiful. And that we gave her that. And Walter also gave her a gift set of LDH scissors. And you've heard us talk about the LDH scissors with all of that. But we had a good time at the party, and there was lots of food. The music was great, everything. There was a lot of thought put into it, right up to the cocktails. And it was an open bar, too. We only had 2 drinks. That's all. But anyway, in case you were worried. But yeah, we had a great time, and I really hope that Gail enjoys her gifts. She did send us a text message thanking us and that. But she knows that the gifts that we gave her were personalized. That, pretty much everything with the exception of the scissors we made. So, and because she is a sewer as well, I know she'll appreciate that. So, anyways, let me go back to me. That reminded me of something that I wanted to say. And I have no idea what that was. So it couldn't have been that important, could it? So, moving on, I broke down and I bought what's called the 9-degree wedge ruler. This, because I have this pattern, which, sorry, there's a glare on it. It's the Spicy Spiral Table Runner, which I did show a couple of weeks ago. It's a kit that I bought when we were in the Cambridge Stratford area back in September. And now, the woman at the store told me that you had to use this ruler with it. But she said, if you don't want to spend the money on the ruler, because the ruler is actually expensive, and it's somewhat of a one-off. There are other things you can do with it, and the instructions on the card, as you can see that it's sitting on, show you some other designs that you can make with this ruler. But she said they had included in the pattern a template that you could take out, tape together, and use it. Well, yeah, I got it out, I looked at it, and I thought, I actually had some template plastic, but the plastic wasn't big enough, and I'm thinking, I'm fooling around here trying to make a template. Let's just go online and find the ruler. I did find the ruler in several different spots. Yes, it was expensive. I bought it from a place in Saskatchewan. They seem to have the best shipping and the best price on it. It still cost me about with the shipping and everything, it cost me about $75 Canadian for this ruler. For something, I have a feeling I'll only use it once. Maybe not. We'll see how this table runner turns out. But I have it. So there you are. And maybe I'll find that this style of a table runner and the other little things that they have, other patterns that they have available, maybe I'll really like using this, and maybe I'll make more things with it. We shall see. So I got that. And then fabric store, a quilting store in our area called Annie's, was having a big sale on Saturday because they're moving. They're moving out of their existing location into a little better and bigger facility. And so, of course, they're trying to reduce their inventory so they have less to move. And so they were having a sale. So on Saturday, it was 30% off everything in the store. So, gotta go, right? So I went. And I did take advantage of the 30% off. I bought a bolt of black fabric and I bought a bolt of white fabric. Those are two fabrics I like to buy by the bolt because, you know, especially the white, I use that a lot in backgrounds in most of my projects. And black is always good to have as well. I bought a couple of spools of Aurifil thread because 30% off, right? And I bought these fall fabrics as well. Now I bought 2 meters of the one that has the like leafy kind of design to it. I thought that was very pretty. In fact, when Walter saw it too, he says that would make a nice shirt, but I didn't buy it for a shirt. But yes, I could see myself wearing that. The other fabric, of course, has gnomes in it, and it's a fall theme, but with gnomes. And I didn't realize how much was left on the bolt, but I just told her, I said, okay, in fact, I think this one might have been not 30% off, but I think it might have been $10 or $11 a meter. I can't remember exactly. She did have some sort of bargain bins of fabric there as well, and I think that's where I found this. Well, it turned out it had about 5 meters on it, or 4.5, 5.5, something like that. I just said, give me the whole bolt, because you know me and gnomes. So, yes, I don't know what I'm going to do with it yet, but it's in my gnome drawer. Yes, I have a gnome drawer where I keep anything related to gnomes in it, including fabric. So that I bought. And then the Halloween stuff was on sale too. I think it was $10 a meter. And I thought, yeah, I'm not making anything for Halloween right now. That's done with, but it's always good at that price, you know. And they don't come out with many new designs every year for Halloween, you know. There's only so many witches, haunted houses, and bats you can stick on fabric and spider webs. So I purchased 2 meters of each of these that you see here. And they're in my Halloween drawer as well for possibly next year when I get in the mood. I usually make at least 1 or 2 things around the Halloween time. So, yeah, I'm stocked up with that. So what you saw here between the 2 bolts of fabric, the Aurifil thread, and all the yardage that I bought, I think I spent about $400 and some odd dollars. Doesn't take much, does it? I mean, it's really the 2 bolts that took up the bulk of that amount. Okay, so that takes me to what's in my quilt bag. That's why I think I'll start calling this little segment when I do them. You know, I've been doing sort of a little trunk show as I sort through all the quilts that I have piled up here with the idea that I should sort them out, and ones that I think are potential gifts, ones that should be potentially donated, and ones I want to keep. Well, so far all I've done is organize them into those big storage bags that you saw back a few weeks ago that I purchased. Love those bags. A lot of you love those bags too, because a lot of you have been telling me you've gone and bought them as well, and they are just dandy for my purposes anyways. So I have quite a few of these bags now with quilts in them. So this is quilt bag number 1. What's in the bag? So today's trunk show is me taking quilts out of storage bags that I bought a week or so ago before this was videoed. And I'm just now sort of doing a couple of things at once. I'm going to show you the quilts that are in this bag and talk a little bit about them, see if I can figure out what they were called. I'm looking in my journal for that information. And the other thing I'm doing is basically taking an inventory of what quilts I have that are stored in each of these bags, and I'm going to print out a tag and put it on the handle of the bag so I know exactly what is in this particular bag. So the first quilt that I have up here is a really large one, because you can see that it's draped on the floor. I'm not really sure why this quilt is so long, but it is. And I forgot all about this quilt. The fabric is very pretty, and I think what I was doing was I was trying to make sort of a Bargello style quilt, because if you look at it, you can see there is some elements of the Bargello on the left hand side. But these other blocks didn't quite work out that way, and I can't remember whether I was trying to create this pattern on my own, and I think I was. And I don't have a lot of luck with Bargellos, I can tell you that. I've made several of them with various levels of difficulty, but this one, I love the fabric that's in it, and you know, the design is a little offbeat. You definitely won't see one like this every day, and it's large, so you know, it would fit a good, I don't think it's wide enough for a queen, but it's definitely long enough for a longer bed if I ever give it up. So I called it the semi-bar, and I made this back in February, or finished it in February of 2022, according to my journal. This quilt is one of my favorites, and I have it actually widthwise instead of lengthwise because it is a big quilt as well, and it, just on this display stand that I have, it's supported better this way. But if you look at this, there's no rhyme or reason to it. It's pieces all over the place. And what it is, I call it my orphan block quilt. Oftentimes when I make a test block, but I don't necessarily make it in the fabric I'm going to use for the actual quilt, I will throw it in a box, and when I get enough of them, I'll throw them out, scatter them around on my table, and try to put them together into some form of a quilt. And this is one of my best ones for this. I love this quilt. I love the colors, and I didn't really choose the colors. There's nothing planned in this quilt. And I just, wherever I could fit a block in, I'd fit it in. And if I needed to make a little bit more space or make it match up a little better, I'd add a strip of fabric, scrap fabric. So the whole thing is all orphan blocks and scrap fabrics. You can even see, if you look over here, for example, this star lost some of its points in the process, and that's okay. I don't care. I think it just adds some interest to this. So this is a kind of a neat quilt. If you stand back and you look at it, you see something different in every area of the quilt. And as I said, I think the colors worked really well, even though they weren't planned. So it goes to show you, don't throw anything away. You can always make it into a quilt, and it will look great. This quilt I put together, I think, in early 2021. If I've got the right one in my journal, this is from January of 2021 when I finished it, so I probably started it in sometime in 2020. And that's early in my quilting career. And I guess I had a whole lot of leftover pieces, and I thought, well, let me try and design my own quilt. Well, I don't think I did that great a job. But what's kind of unique about this quilt is the fabric. All the fabric, with the exception of the little narrow border pieces and the wide green border pieces, are my own design. What I mean by that is, before I got into quilting, I used to do a lot of paper crafts, and I was majorly into something called art journaling, which is basically using different mediums in a book, on a page, slapping it all together and making sort of a collage. Well, I got the idea when I discovered spoon flower and that they'll print anything onto fabric. I thought I would scan and manipulate in Photoshop some pages that I had done in my art journal book and make them into fabric. And so that's what all this is. And I'll give you a little closer look here so you can see. So you see, this fabric was basically done with rubber stamps, paint, in the original. I scanned it, so this is not paint at all on here now. But you can see, and there's writing in there too. Other ones have some of the images when I cut them into smaller pieces. Some of them I took the page and I did a kaleidoscope effect with it. And yeah, I was really happy with that at the time, because I was thinking, and I was jumping way ahead of myself at the time, I was thinking it might be really cool to write patterns and to eventually have my own fabric line. I did put together sort of a portfolio, not knowing what I was doing, and sent it off to a couple of fabric places. And a couple of them did answer back and basically essentially said, well, thank you so much. We'll keep you on file. No, thank you. Go away. Drop dead. So, I kind of gave up on the idea because I didn't know what I'm really doing, and I am not a graphic artist by any stretch of the imagination. So I just printed this out for myself. It's kind of a neat thing to do, though. However, the fabric that spoonflower paint, or the method they use for getting your designs onto fabric, the fabric itself I'm not really thrilled with. It will soften up when it's been washed. I think I've washed this quilt. Yeah, it does soften up. But when you first get it and it comes back to you, it feels really weird. It's very, very stiff feeling kind of a thing. A lot of sizing in it, I guess, or something, or possibly it's just the way that they do digital printing. I'm not sure how that works exactly. Anyways, you can see here I tried to develop some sort of a design. Not very successful. However, it's the only quilt that I have. Well, actually, there might be one other quilt that has some of my own fabric in it. So that's why this one I'll hang on to, because, yeah, it was my own fabric design. The first time I had ever done something like that, and the last time. So now it's time for Subscriber's Quilt of the Week. This comes from Svetlana. Hope I'm saying her first name right. I think she goes by Lana, but I mean Svetlana. Svetlana is actually a really interesting first name. But anyways, Warner is her last name. So Lana Warner, and she shares this beautiful creation with us. This week's Subscriber's Quilt comes from Svetlana Warner, and she writes this. Hi, Stephen. This is a two-sided quilt, 60 by 60 inches. I mostly do them this way as it's more fun and more of a challenge. Side 1 is made of 2.5-inch strips in a rail fence center, plus whirligig border in a 12-inch borders. Side 2 is using a 60-degree triangles to use up scraps and piano key border. All machine pieced, sewn, quilted, and bound on my Bernina 770 QE. I used only ruler work for quilting my own patterns. This way I never get too many scraps. Time to think of another project. Enjoy your retreat, Lana. Svetlana Naruma, North, South Wales, Australia. I think I got that right. NSW Australia. If I got that wrong, please, Svetlana, let me know. But let's take a little closer look at these. Triangles. You know how I find triangles somewhat challenging, but this looks excellent. This is really, really pretty. And I love the piano key border on this. And this one, the design looks very complicated, but I think it's relatively easy. But having said that, it is stunning. And what a great way to get rid of your scraps. And I love the border treatment. I think that's very unique and really sets off the center part of the quilt very well. So thank you, Svetlana, for sending us these pictures of your beautiful creations. And so that takes me to the YouTube of the week. Well, you know, they just had Quilt Market and all of that, and there's a ton of videos out there about what to see on the quilt market. But I picked this particular one because it is done by Quilting Life, Sherry McConnell, and Chelsea Stratton. You've heard me talk about them before. Very popular YouTube creators, very popular fabric designers and pattern designers. I have done several of Chelsea's designs or patterns, and they're very well written, and I love the result with them. So I thought I would review what they did with their video on the Quilt Market 2023. This week's YouTube video clip comes from A Quilting Life, and that is the team of Sherry McConnell and her daughter, Chelsea Stratton. And you've heard me talk about their channel before, and I'm sure you've probably discovered it before. But in the past week, they did a whole video about what they saw in terms of vendors at Quilt Market 2023. And I think it gives us a little glimpse into what we can expect in the next 6 months that'll be coming at to our local quilt stores. They introduce us to some of the designers, and they introduce us to the new fabrics and products that are coming out. So if you want a sneak peek at what we can expect to find in the new year in our local quilting stores, then you'll want to check out this video about Quilt Market 2023. Now for future projects. Well, this one comes from the AccuQuilt book that Walter got me when he bought me last Christmas all kinds of AccuQuilt dies. And I went through the book and I've marked certain pages for quilts I want to do in the future. And this is one of them. It's called My Road to Oklahoma. This week's future project is called My Road to Oklahoma. And this comes from the AccuQuilt Quilt in a Day Go Cube book that I got some time ago when Walter bought me at Christmas time last year a bunch of the Go Cubes. And I went through the book and I marked some of the patterns that I think I'd like to do. Now, of course, this one attracted my attention because it does have stars and I love stars. And it's a fairly big size as well. It's 60 by 80 inches. And I wouldn't use those colors because those are too pale for me, too much of the salmony pinky colors in there. I don't know what colors I would use, but I think it would lend itself very nicely to a scrappy quilt as well, or using up some fat quarter patterns, or bundles I mean, that I have in my stash. So yeah, I'm looking forward to doing this one, I hope, very soon. So the question now is, do I have an interview this week? I most certainly do. I told you last week that I had one lined up. Well, I have it lined up and it's on here on the on my channel for you to view. And it's with Felon and Matthew from So Be It Quilts, a lovely couple, a very clever couple. They have a business as well as a YouTube channel, and they make these most wonderful rulers and templates. Their design, and if you haven't heard about them, well, if you watch the video, the interview video, you will see those products because we do talk about them. But it was a great interview. As I said, they're a lovely couple. Really enjoyed interviewing them. And here's a little teaser for that interview.
So she thought we were going to the dealership, and I told the kids, because they came with us, I'm like, hey, we're going to take a small detour. So we start driving, and 15 minutes into the drive, she's like, this is not the way to the dealership.
I don't like surprises. So I was like, we are not going where we planned.
And she actually thought we were going to buy another car because our daughter's going to turn 16 soon.
I was like, I need to know what we're doing because I had stuff I wanted to work on today.
So we end up there, and by some off comment she makes, they get interested, and long story short, we do it. Now, we have changed the design and we've re-engineered it to make it a little bit more, because the old product was out there for a few years, and so we got feedback on what worked and what didn't work. So it's a completely different internal engineering design than it was before.
So that takes me to my weekly review of an online quilt store. And this one is one I have actually been to. They do have a brick and mortar store. They're out in the Belleville, Trenton area of Ontario, which is east of me by about an hour and a half, 2 hours. So we did go to this store back, well, quite a long time ago now. I think it was possibly over a year ago. And it's a cute little store. They don't just sell fabric. They also sell knitting products as well, wool. And they do have an online presence. And here's my review of Kraft Village. This week's online fabric store is called Kraft Village. And this is located in Belleville. I believe they have two locations, one in Belleville, Ontario, and one in Trenton, Ontario. And I have been to the Belleville location. And it is, although it looks small from the outside, it is surprisingly packed with all kinds of goodies, and not just fabric. So let's take a look at their front page to their website. So you can see they have notions listed here. Actually, this is looks like a slideshow. And if you travel beyond, yes, fabric, yarn. So if you're a knitter, sewing machines, and notions. Looks like they're a Bernina dealer from here, and lots of wool if you're into knitting. So it has that. And there it has its locations, store hours. And they say our company was founded in the early 1980s, operated under the original name of Knitcraft. Knitcraft was located in the Quinte Mall in Belleville, Ontario. In 1986, the company grew and rebranded under the name of Kraft Village and was one of the first fabric, yarn, and sewing stores in the area. So they do have a loyalty program, it says down in the one corner, and $12 shipping for orders in Canada, which is pretty good. Must be flat rate, but if you have over $100, it says it's free. So far, I'm impressed. So let's take a look at fabric. If we can get to the fabric one. Here it is. And they have it organized by collections. So batiks, children's, Christmas, flannel, French general, designer fabrics, Halloween, jelly rolls and charm packs, licensed fabric, Northcott, sports fabric, wide back. Well, and then they've got some batting and interfacing as well. Now this shows you all the fabrics on here. Oh, look, gnomes. Oh my goodness. Now, $5.65 Canadian, I imagine that is either a quarter meter or half a meter. So let's just check this out. Yes, it's priced by the quarter meter. So they are not inexpensive. So $5.65. What's that work out to? That's times 4. Yeah, that's $22.60 a meter. Now, is that the price for all of their fabric, or is that just because this is holiday and it's a little bit more special? Let's just check out something else. Let's go to, let's see. Okay, $5.25. $5.75. So it looks like fabric prices vary. $5.75. $3.25 for more of your blenders and possibly solids. So yeah, their prices range, looks like anywhere from about $18 up to about $23 a meter. So yeah, they're on the higher end for their fabrics, but they seem to have quite a selection. So let's go back into something else here. Let's just take a look at their Northcott. Northcott's $3.25 a quarter meter. So what's that? 12, that's $13 a meter for what I would consider to be blenders and solids, which is not a bad price. But anything that's printed, it looks to me like that's more up there in price. So let's see. What are they charging for batiks? Well, it's not a bad price for batiks, $3.25 a quarter meter. So that's, as I said, about $13. That's a good price actually on batiks. I pay more than that at my local store. So that's good. So a good place to source. And they look like they've got quite a few. Yeah, 107 products, it said up at the top. So a good selection of batiks there. Okay, let's go back and yeah, French General. French General's been around for quite a bit. $5.75, that's on the upper end of the scale. And I would expect that that would be because French General usually is a little bit more than other lines of fabric. Okay, so they had pre-cuts listed. I want to check those out. So if you want to buy somebody else's scraps for $5, just as an aside here, I don't know, why would you want to buy scraps? If you've been quilting for any time, you have enough scraps, I'm sure. Okay, so they're pre-cuts. They have charm packs, various prices depending on what they are. Prices aren't too bad. They're what you would expect. Let's see, they have a fat quarter bundle, 3 pre-cuts, $21.99. That's expensive for 3. This one has 4 for $38.50. Yeah, for fat quarter bundle, that is a little on the pricey side. What else do they have? Well, Everything else, prices are, looking at this, a little on the high side. They seem to have quite a bit to choose from. Now there's a fat quarter bundle for $53.99. It has 12 pre-cuts, and that's not so bad a price. So I guess it really depends what's in there. Jelly rolls, yeah, but they do have a good selection. I will say that. So yeah, 6 pages of selection, 81 products, it says. Okay, so let's go to they have applique, books and magazines, cross stitch. They have kits. Let's check out their kits and see what they have here. Quilt kit, yarn kit, more quilt kits. Yeah, that's the price. Yeah. Nothing here is really grabbing me in the style. But they have 46 products, so I'm sure you could leaf through that and find something you might like. Okay, let's check out their thread line. Okay, what do they sell? Bonded nylon. Texo. I am not familiar with either one of these brands. I have Metler for hand quilting, Aurifil, and hand quilting thread. Okay, Aurifil is $7.99, but that's for a small roll. Do they have much to choose from? Okay, that says Aurifil. Down here, they have Gutermann. Yeah, I'm confused. Do they only have the one? Yeah, it looks like they only have the one Aurifil. And they have these other brands. Nylon, bonded nylon. Yeah, so thread selection is not that extensive. Yeah, not that extensive for that. Okay, so that's thread. What else shall we look at? Well, they have books and magazines, but everybody does, and prices on those are what they are. I don't know if a store has much choice as to how they can price things like that, because I think that's more or less established by the publishers. Okay. What else is of interest? I'm not going to look at yarn. Let's take a look at notions. Sewing notions and yarn notions. And okay, papers, things like that, needles, yeah, what you would expect. They have acorn pressing solution. Well, that's good, because sometimes you can't find that. Anything else that we should look at in the shopping? They have cross stitching. Let's look at their miscellaneous things. They have friction pens, mugs, power bar, die catchers, some lighting, some bag hardware. Yeah. Now this is interesting. They have a Thimblecraft container. The only reason I find that interesting is because you know that I make mine on my 3D printer. It doesn't look like it's very big. Okay, I just was indulging myself. All right, they do have classes, supposedly. They have a section for them. Class calendar and registration options. Classes coming soon. Quilting Block Star, Thursday, November 9th, $65 class fee. Please purchase fabric ahead of time at one of our locations. I wonder if you have to buy their fabric if you want to take the class, or they're just suggesting. Private class sewing with a machine. Okay, and that seems to be all they have in terms of classes. They don't, it says class calendar. I guess they consider this class calendar. All right. Parts and service. So it looks like they do service machines. They do. Now, what do they say? In line with the philosophy of repairing instead of replacing, Kraft Village provides sewing machine repair services in the Quinte West. Bring in any brand of sewing machine to our shop and have it repaired. We also carry parts for all sewing machines. In our fully equipped tech shop, we're able to work on all repairs right on site. Okay, that's pretty good. So they look like they have a full service for repairing machines, no matter what the brand. Promotions. Weekly sales. Build your bundle. I guess these are for machines. And their promotions, which are machines. They have Juki. That's interesting because you don't find a lot of places in Canada that carry Juki machines. And Bernina. Okay, so these are all more or less sales this week on, or at the time I recorded this, on sewing machines. Okay, so this definitely has a good selection of fabric and yarn and sewing machines and notions. Prices are a little high on the fabric, but their shipping is very good at, what was it, $12.99? Yeah, $12 for orders in Canada. I have no idea what it would be for the States. And if it's over $100, free shipping. So that's not bad. And as I said, I have been to their actual brick and mortar store, and it was had a good selection in store as well. So if you happen to be in that area, in the Belleville area, check out Kraft Village. In the meantime, you can check them out online. So that brings me to the end of this episode of The Idiot Quilter. Again, a reminder, Sewing with Stephanie and Stephen, Wednesday. Pop-up Sew Day, November 18th, Saturday, November 18th, starting at 8 a.m. Come and go as you please. My apologies to the other people that have lives on at the same time that day. But all are welcome at my Pop-up Sew Day, so I hope to see you then. And I hope you have a good week. Oh, yes, and just when we thought we were done with the whole Scissorgate kind of thing on So Chatty, Walter's been doing more research, and he's found out a couple of really interesting things, as Walter often does. So we are going to revisit, at least for part of So Chatty, the whole thing that I'm now calling Scissorgate. So if you're interested and intrigued, be sure to catch that on Friday when it goes up. Okay, have a great rest of the week, and we'll see you soon. Bye for now.